Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the East Dundee President Candidate Forum for the consolidated election on April 6th. This is hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Elgin area. My name is Carol Grohm, and I will be the moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that works to empower voters and encourage informed participation in our democracy. One of the ways we do that is to hold candidate forums to provide voters an opportunity to hear the candidates running for election. The forums sponsored by the League give candidates for local offices a chance to present information about themselves and their candidacy, their background, skills, education, reasons for running for office, what they hope to accomplish if elected, and positions on various issues relevant to the office. All candidates in contested races were invited to participate in a forum. Each one was given the opportunity to fill out a candidate questionnaire on our website, and their written responses, if any, can be found in the voter guide. This evening, you will have a chance to hear from the two candidates for East Dundee President, Jeff Lynam and Lael Miller. The format for today's forum will be a 3-minute opening statement followed by 2-minute responses to questions from the moderator and ending with 2-minute closing statements. Our timekeeper will show the candidates when they have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and when their time is up. Questions for the candidates were selected from those submitted by League members. After the question and answer period, the candidates will have the opportunity to give a 2-minute closing statement beginning in reverse order. This forum will be recorded and posted to the League YouTube channel, where it will be available for viewing via links on the LWVEA website, which is lwvelginarea.org. So welcome to our candidates, and thank you for agreeing to participate tonight. Mr. Lynam, we will begin with your 3-minute opening statement, please.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters and Lael, of course, for taking part. My name is Jeff Lynam. I am a 45-year resident of East Dundee, and I have degrees in both accounting and finance from Northern Illinois. I'm currently in the middle of my 4th term as village trustee for East Dundee, and I'm running basically for basically for purposes of trying to bring about some change that I'm hoping that'll improve the village. So I think I can do that.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
That's about all I have as far as opening.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters for doing this. It's always a great asset to the residents, and Jeff, also to you and to everybody that's listening. I ran for mayor 2 terms ago because we were in a position that was financially untenable. We had a vacant downtown. We had a Walmart that was leaving that was about 30 to 40% of our revenue. And we were just not in a good spot. And I realized that what we needed to do was fill in a lot of different diverse businesses so that we would not be held accountable if one business left. I think we've been very successful in doing that. I think in my first term, we probably doubled, tripled the amount of revenue that we were getting from Walmart. We now have a good amount of cash reserves in the bank, even after this strange year. We don't have very many vacancies in the downtown, and we've got a lot of buildings that are going up. We've got a lot of employers that are hiring people in the area. Housing values are going up. So I think we're in a good place, and basically I just want to continue. I'm going to keep my foot on the pedal, drive this village forward to where it wants to be, which is a vibrant, thriving community that has both good residential areas as well as commercial and industrial areas.
All right, thank you. We're going to begin with questions and answers with a reminder that each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. So we'll go back to Mr. Lynam for the first question. What impact has the COVID-19 pandemic had on East Dundee's budget, operations, and programs? And what steps need to be taken to recover?
Well, that's a big question. Well, the biggest impact has been to our sales tax revenue. And that, of course, there's going to be a deferred impact, if you will. We're not going to really feel the pain of that just yet, simply because of the lag involved in realizing the revenues that come in. But it's been a real strain on both staff and residents. And so, I personally, it's hard to really give an opinion on the whole COVID thing without, perhaps putting somebody off or sounding insincere. But I really believe that the village has taken a position on this that has been overly cautious, to the point where we've found businesses in our community that were not conforming with or stepping outside perhaps a little bit of the boundaries that the guidelines that were set forth. We were ready to raise a red flag on that. And to be honest with you, I don't know if that was the right way to go. We, as any village, rely on sales tax. And I think that we should have given, and still should, as much latitude as possible or as necessary for a business to run their affairs the way they see fit, because they know better than we. But again, we have to, of course, be cognizant of everything that's going on. But I think a little bit more latitude for our smaller businesses is something that we should look into.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, same question. What impact has the COVID-19 pandemic had on East Dundee's budget, operations, and programs? And what steps do you think need to be taken to recover?
That's a great question. Jeff's exactly right. We get our sales tax numbers 3 months in arrears. We haven't had a significant hit in the sales tax numbers yet. Obviously, there's areas and sectors that are hurting far worse than others. As to expenses from the village, we really haven't incurred that many, so there's not going to be that the expenses due to COVID. We have had to obviously change the way that we do some things in the village. We have canceled several events. The St. Patrick's Day Parade last year, we canceled. This year, the organizers of the parade have canceled that. So there are going to be some impacts, obviously, as there are with everything. But as to financially and to our budget, I don't think it's as great as an impact yet as we thought it would be. And I think that the recovery for this is going to be fast and furious. I think that the economy, both here and in the region, are ready to just burst out. I think there's pent up demand. I think that as soon as more people start getting vaccinated, more people start feeling safe to go outside again and congregate, I think that the economy is really going to take off. So I think we're in a good place. We've added more businesses. We've certainly added more employees in the area here. And like I said, I just think there's a huge pent up demand. So I think the economy is pretty much going to self-recover.
Thank you. Both of you have indicated on your candidate questionnaires, which are available on the League's website voter guide, that development is a priority for you. If elected, what are your specific plans for the village, and how do they differ from your opponent's plans? And Mr. Miller, you can go first on this one.
Sure. Obviously, economic development has always been key in my platform. We have brought so many different new businesses, different types, and again, diverse types of businesses in. We're shortly, let's rephrase that. We just finished the interior build out for Altoffers Caterpillar plant, sales and service location, not plant, on Route 72. That allowed us to annex 26 acres in. An additional 14 of that is now being sold off to another company that wants to put a big location there and build another building. We've got three of our last units on Prairie Lakes Industrial Park that just sold. Buildings are going to be going up there. So I think that what we've done here is twofold, really. It's success breeds success. When somebody sees that somebody has moved into this village and been successful because we're easy to work with, because we work with businesses and incentivize them where we need to, and every single deal is different. I think that brings more people in because they want to know why we're good in the way that we are. So we're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue adding new businesses. We're going to, my focus this year more than anything else is not just bringing in buildings, not just bringing in companies, it's going to be bringing in employees, because we know that the employees shop, they get gas, they get food, they get lunch, they walk through our downtown. That's very vital too. We have a vibrant downtown. It obviously it's a work in progress, but I think we've done well. As to how that jives with Jeff's position on that, I will defer to him and he will answer that.
Well, we'll ask him. Mr. Lynam, same question. Both of you indicated on your questionnaires that development is a priority for you. If elected, what are your specific plans for the village and how do they differ from your opponent's plans?
Well, of course, development is key to any town. And we've had, through leadership over the last number of years, a very successful go of that. Like as Lael had mentioned, with the new Caterpillar plant that's going in is going to be a really big shot in the arm for the town. The Prairie Lakes development that we have, the industrial park is full, which is wonderful, and all that really impacts the village in a big way. Employees and all that other stuff. The areas though that I feel that really need attention are specifically the downtown, and in addition to that, the River Valley Shopping Center. Now, I know that every effort has really been made and to bring in and replacing Dominic's, in other words. That was one of the keys that we had, and we had done just about everything we were able to. But I do have an idea for filling that space. And so I'm going to be working on trying to put together that deal. And whether or not I'm elected village president or not, I'm still going to work then with Mr. Miller, Lael, to try and bring that about. I know a lot of, like I say, effort has been made on that front. But with regards to the downtown, we have some areas. In fact, the whole southern quadrant is dark, and there's a lot of potential down there. And a number of developers who've indicated that they would like to come in and invest in East Dundee, but for various reasons won't. Well, good, bad, right, wrong, doesn't really matter. The fact is that if we have the situation that we have now, perhaps a changing of the guard is what might bring about that new development. So that's what I'm hoping to help with.
Okay, thank you. This next question will go first to you, Mr. Lynam. What factors do you think should guide the village in soliciting and approving new development?
Well, we have in the town a number of TIF districts that we've developed, the tax incremental financing. And it's been a wonderful tool that we've been able to use to entice developers to come in and build. And so I would like to continue down that road to use those tools to do that. If we actually use all those tools at our disposal, along with advertising to make sure that people understand that East Dundee is a town that is open for business, we're going to be able to further the reputation that we've already got in place, that's the case. And so, like I say, when if we have a company that's going to come in and hang a sign, others are going to take notice, and especially when it comes to brand new building, because nothing breeds growth like growth. And so what I would like to see us do is continue to use that TIF financing and various grant monies, if we can continue to go after that, to try and fray some of the costs that are associated with that. Whenever we have new development, all the infrastructure is really expensive to do, and so we need to look to secure financing for some of that stuff and help the developers come in. So I think we've actually made some really, like I say, really good inroads with that, and I want to focus on that and really hit the gas.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, same question. What factors do you think should guide the village in soliciting and approving new development?
That's a good question. Soliciting and so when we look at, most of the time the phone rings and people call us, and these things go into the funnel, into the sales funnel or pipeline, I would have to say probably 75% of them shake out. We look at every single one of them to find out what it's going to bring to the village. When I first started working with the village here on planning and zoning and also as a trustee, we were considered to be a bedroom community. We're only a 3,000 or so residents in town. And we were really thought of that we had no place to expand. We had no place to grow. Well, we've kind of flipped that entire model on its head. We do have a lot of industrial areas. And I think that what we're looking at now is we want to be a place where you can live, work, and play. That's really what East Dundee has become. We've expanded our scope, and we're looking for businesses and corporations that can come in here and help us do that. And if that means that it's going to be a place that's going to employ people that work in town so they don't have to get on the highway and drive to Schaumburg, then that's something that's very key. As I said prior, one of my focuses is going to be not just getting companies in town and getting their sales tax, but actually creating jobs and creating things here so that we can grow in different ways. So I'm very focused on that. We want the type of businesses in town, and we've had a number of them that just come out here for, number one, because we're in Kane County and they can set foot across the Cook County line and save property tax dollars, but because they want to be associated with a small town where they can participate in our events, where they feel like they're part of a family instead of being part of, just paying off sales tax and sales dollars. So we look very closely at a number of factors when we're looking at how we're going to attract and support businesses.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Miller, on this next question. And that is, how should the village balance spending for long-term needs like infrastructure maintenance and economic development with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small town character?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, everything is a balance. This kind of leapfrogs onto your last question too, is that everything that we have done has been to keep the downtown and the residential neighborhoods, the quiet, quaint, character-filled places that they are. People love their homes. People love their neighborhoods. And everything that we do is dedicated to preserving that. All the business and all the development that we bring in actually helps pay for the services for the residents so that we don't have to raise their taxes. We get our money as a village. I don't want to say we're a nonprofit, but we kind of operate as one. We get our revenue from either sales tax or property tax, and we don't want to increase severely either of those things for the residents. So the more corporations and the more developers that we get in here that bring business in, the easier it is to pay for the residents. If I get a boatload of money because, a Caterpillar plant is built there, then that means I don't have to raise somebody's taxes on something else here. So we're very cognizant of that. As to the long-term plans, I have to think about this village in 5 minutes from now, yesterday, tomorrow, a week from today, and 120 years from now. And as Jeff and everybody on the board knows, we've got in some areas 120-year-old infrastructure under the roads. We've got water main breaks. Every town does. We're an old town. We got settled here in 1840. So there's stuff that is always going to break, and no matter when it was put in, even if it was last year, you have to budget for long-term. We have roadworks, we have plumbing, we have water, we have sewer. Long-term is key, and that's why we build reserves, and that's why we plan these things years and years in advance so that we could take them on. I wish I could tell everybody I could fix every road in the city tomorrow, but we have a 5-year plan where we grade the value of the roads and then we go serve them as we see, as they need to be. It's on a rotating basis. So, both things are completely true. Yes, you can't do everything today because you need money for 120 years from now. So it's the balance. That's the key.
Okay. Thank you. And Mr. Lynam, will ask you the same question. How do you think the village should balance spending for long-term needs like infrastructure maintenance and economic development? How do you balance that with residents' desires to keep taxes low and the village a family-focused community with small town character?
Well, actually, what Lael had said pretty much sums it up. There are some it's all based on give and take. I mean, there are realities that we have to that we all have to face. We have the 5 essential services that any municipality has to offer. We have fire, police, water, sewer, and roads. Everything else is, I don't want to say discretionary, but essentially it is. But what we need to make sure of is that, with that balance, or in attaining that balance, that, costs are kept under control. We don't have the kind of money that it would take in order to be able to do every road all the time. It's awfully expensive to be able to do that sort of thing. And so what I would like to see us do is, as actually Lael had alluded to this, to bringing in businesses tends to take a lot of the weight off of that from the taxpayer and the costs of providing those services. But what I would really like to see us do, that we have done to an extent, but not nearly as much as I would like, is a focus on reserve accounts. And so specifically for the water and the sewer funds, we dug a new well, actually 2 new wells, a deep one and a shallow one, and we put in a new pump house. And there are 3 pumps there that are, the size of a Buick. Those are really, really expensive. And so what I would like to see us do is to continue to put monies away for the eventual rainy day that we know is going to happen. And so it's easy, though, to put that aside, especially when times get tough. But I think it's really important that we do that. And if we have to forego other things, to make sure that we're saving enough, then, that's really what we need to do. In groups, or I should say boards that I've been on in the past have not really shown enough attention to that.
Thank you. Mr. Lynam, we'll start with you this time.
Okay.
In order to grow, East Dundee needs a diversified housing stock that includes affordable homes for young people just starting out and downsizing seniors, especially in the low to moderate income range. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
Well, actually, East Dundee has made a lot of inroads in that. We have the development right on 25, the Riverhaven development, that we have the large building, if you will, apartments that are age restricted and provide subsidized rates for seniors, as well as then 68 single family units that we have that were put together with a focus towards veterans preference, and then income assisted living as well. We also have now 2 new apartment, new development going in to augment one that was just put in right off of 72 near 25. And they've had a lot of success in that. I mean, that development had been full up as soon as it was built. So we're a very, very small town. Like I say, 2,900 people. The size of the town is only about 6 square miles. And based on that, we have really a very commendable amount, if you will, of multifamily housing, and as well as some state subsidized housing. So, and it's been actually a good experience for the village. Bumps in the road, absolutely, but it's been a real success at this point. So I think to try and further that, to be honest with you, I don't know that we have a whole lot of room to grow when it comes to the residential end of it. There's some, it depends on, what kind of wranglings, if you will, can be had with annexing new areas. But I think just by and large, we are in really, really good shape for a town our size to have the kind of attention paid to that type of housing.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, same question. In order to grow, East Dundee needs a diversified housing stock that includes affordable homes for young people just starting out and downsizing seniors, especially in the low to moderate income range. What are your thoughts on the need for more affordable housing as part of a healthy mix of housing options?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that is essential. One of the things that I've noticed in my time on the board here is, if you had asked me, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, what the demographics of East Dundee is, I would tell you that it was definitely trending toward empty nesters and more senior living. And in the last 5 5 or 6 years, that trend has completely reversed and gone upside down. And what we're seeing now is on my block alone, I've seen 5 houses sell in the last 3 years. And it's young kids that are coming in there either with, one child or a child on the way there. And they are able to buy these houses. In some cases, they need to do some work because the house hasn't been fixed up in a while. But they're still very, very affordable. And compared to regions around us, especially if you go a little bit east, I will say there's a shortage in housing stock just because we don't have a lot of houses here. I mean, we have approximately 1,500 houses in the entire town. Jeff's exactly right. When we put in Riverhaven, that was the first veterans priority low income housing in the state of Illinois. That was a great accomplishment for us. And Gardner Place, the 55 and over next door, same thing. So we are able to, for example, we have a list that we can help people put on there. I was able to put a gentleman who was a war vet. He came back with some difficulties. He went through a bad divorce. He had 3 kids. We were able to put him on a list there where he was able to get a brand new single family house with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances and 3 bedrooms. And he was able to pay $400 a month, which is what his disability qualified him for. And there's a number of those. As Jeff pointed out, I think there's 68 of those. That's a great asset to us. I mean, percentage wise, I think that we're good. Can we do better? Yes. Is there room for more housing? Yes, but putting in dense housing is always going to be the biggest pushback that you get. So we have to be careful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to Mr. Miller for this one. I believe this was touched on earlier, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Tax increment financing, or TIF districts, were originally designed for urban renewal projects in blighted or deteriorating neighborhoods. At just over 3 square miles, East Dundee now has 7 TIF districts comprising a significant portion of the village. What impact has the use of TIF districts had on East Dundee and on the other taxing bodies within those districts, such as the schools, library, and park district? And do you plan to continue using TIF districts for future economic development?
Also a good question. Yes, I inherited several TIF districts when I first got in office here. I think that we probably have added a couple since then. One of the things that we did was we made some connections between the TIFs because you can port money from one TIF to the other, which means that our very first TIF district, which was Prairie Lakes, was an industrial park. There obviously was nothing there. It was vacant land. It had no plans. It had been sitting there forever. By putting that in there, we were able to port money to the downtown, use some of that money there to help start or kickstart our project to renovate the downtown area. So a lot of the things that you see there came from other areas. It is very successful. It's something that is highly regulated and many, many, many pages of state laws as to what you can do and what you cannot do with a TIF. I understand that there are other areas there where they run into difficulties with this, and it's a lot to manage. I mean, we have several finance people that are specialists in doing this for us, but it is very successful. We are able to attract businesses, have them fix up their business or have them build a business, and are able to basically give them back a good percentage of their property taxes and incentive. So yes, it's been very successful. As to some of them are going to start burning off. I don't intend on restarting any of them. I don't have any plans at this point to start any new ones, although I'm not going to say that I won't. What happens is that at the end of time, all of this goes back to the school districts, the fire district, the park district. They have absolutely nothing that they were getting from any of these properties before. And when we turn them over after the appropriate period of time, now they're going to be getting revenues because of what we built there. So I find it's a good tool that we can use that doesn't cost the residents anything.
Thank you. Mr. Lynam, same question. I'll go through it even if you remember it. TIF districts were originally designed for urban renewal projects in blighted or deteriorating neighborhoods. At just over 3 square miles, East Dundee now has 7 TIF districts comprising a significant portion of the village. What impact has the use of TIF districts had on East Dundee and on the other taxing bodies within those districts, such as schools, library, and park districts? Do you plan to continue using TIF districts for future economic development?
Well, yeah, that, TIFs are a very controversial subject. They really are. And, as far as, really with blight being the key criteria as to whether or not you can establish a TIF or really want to, that's a bit of a loose term. And we've seen throughout the state, especially in the Chicago area, where, you look at an area that's being set up as a TIF district and it's hardly blighted. And that, I know, leaves a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. But as far as the use and the actually the benefit of TIFs to East Dundee, it's been pivotal. And as far as in the future, absolutely. I know that for such a small town with as many TIFs as we have, it may seem out of balance, but frankly, with very little other tools to incentivize developers to come in and compete with other villages as well, TIFs are really, an important component of that. You've got revenue sharing, sales tax revenue and so forth. But beyond that, the nature of business as it is today, you are competing with other towns to try and bring developers in. The impact to the other taxing bodies, we have an undeveloped piece of land. The tax revenue that's being brought in on that is X. Well, if nothing goes on that property, then those taxing bodies, the schools, the township, the library, and so forth, are going to get what they always got in the past. But if we go ahead and develop it, well, for a period, they're going to have to do without the added increment or sharing in the increased taxes. But that doesn't increase their budgets at all for that period of time, because, for instance, we have an industrial area that has a lot. That isn't really affecting the school district at all, because there aren't going to be any houses on there. So we need to balance it out and be cognizant of the area of the other government bodies. But I think they're a great tool that we really need to continue to use.
Okay. Those were the questions I had prepared. And before we finish up, I'm going to open it up and say, what question do you wish I had asked? Or what topic do you feel like you needed to address? And Mr. Lynam, we'll go with you this time.
Well, right now, my three main points for running have been development and the focus on that, expense management, and there's a number of different areas where the expenses are specific to that idea, and then transparency when it comes to ordinance and the application and the updating of the ordinances that we have on the books. So other questions that may have come up would have perhaps been any changes to current methods or approaches to management or to laws that we have, and maybe perhaps where we see those going into the future. With the village that we have, the size that we have, the diversity that East Dundee offers is pretty significant. There are very few towns the size of ours that have an established industrial component that we enjoy. As well as a really quaint little idyllic downtown that is a very walkable neighborhood. But I think that if we were to focus on the future as far as ordinance and expense management, I think that might have been a good subject to touch on.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, what question do you wish I had asked?
I think you asked very good, appropriate questions. I think you asked the type of questions that I hear from people. So I'll just leave it at that.
All right, then. So we'll move to the 2-minute closing statements, and we will begin with you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. And thank you again for hosting this event. It's important for citizens and residents to be able to hear from both sides and to take a look and see what people are trying to do. Not enough people come to our board meetings. Jeff can attest to that. So it's important that people pay attention to government. And I just want to say that I'm honored to have served terms as mayor. It's a big honor for me to have done that. I've gotten to know a lot about our residents. I've gotten to know a lot about the inner workings of our town. I think we've made it better. I think we have a good team on the board. I think we have good staff. I think we have good focus. I think we've done things that this board has never done before. And I just want to keep continuing going in that direction. I see no reason to slow down. Can we do things better? Absolutely. Can we communicate better? Absolutely. Can we be more transparent? Absolutely. We can always get better. But I think with input from residents and input from the trustees, we can do anything that we want to do at this point. So again, I've been honored to be in this position. I'd be honored to do it again. And I just want to say thanks to all the residents for the constant input and the constant comments that we hear that help make us better every day. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lynam, we'll have your 2-minute closing statement, please.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and Lael. I really appreciate everything that he's done. And I just want to say, East Dundee is a really, really great little town, and it has a lot of potential yet to grow. But the way we're set up currently is really wonderful. We've got a very thriving business community, and then we've also got a strong residence. But what I really want to do is to bring about, or not bring about, because I think we already have it, but to strengthen perhaps the reputation that East Dundee is a town that's open for business and ready to expand. We're at a perfect location at Route 72 and 25, 3 miles off the I-90 tollway. I mean, it really has, a lot going for it. As far as the actual running of the village, I think things have gone really well. And as Lael had mentioned, we don't get, I think, nearly as enough input from residents that I would like. Throw your hat in the ring, because this is really important. We're asking you to elect us to spend your money, essentially. And so what we want you to do is contact us. Let us know how that's going. Let us know what you think, how you want that money to be spent, because it really matters. And I think the other thing that people really need to understand and keep in mind is that these positions are all voluntary. I mean, essentially, there's a $75 a month or whatever stipend. But when you factor all that in, we're working for $1.10 an hour. And so, we're doing this out of civic pride and a love for the community. We've both been here a number of years, decades. And so I think that we both have a strong urge to our need to expand on it and improve, keep moving.
Thank you both for participating in this candidate forum and giving the voters a chance to hear your views. For more information on these and other candidates, please check the voter guide on our LWVEA website, which again is lwvelginarea.org. That concludes tonight's candidate forum. I want to thank Jeff Lynam and Lael Miller for agreeing to participate. And I want to thank the league members who worked to provide this virtual forum to the voters. Thanks also to the voters who take the time to watch these forums and learn about the candidates in order to make an informed choice. If you've applied for a vote by mail ballot, they will be mailed out beginning February 25th. Voting early in person at specified early voting sites begins on March 22nd. And voting election day at your regular polling place will be April 6th. If you plan to vote early, please note that different sites are open different hours, and there may be changes this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can check the King County Elections website for any updates. We hope that this candidate forum, presented as a public service by the League of Women Voters, has been helpful. If you are interested in joining the Elgin Area League of Women Voters or supporting the work that we do, please contact us again, lwvelginarea.org. League membership is open to men as well as women, and we welcome anyone who's interested in issues, voter registration, and elections. Thank you and good night.